The emergency alert pierced through the quiet of Deep Space Station Helios, its harsh tone echoing through the titanium-reinforced corridors. Commander Sarah Chen was already moving before the second tone could sound, her practiced steps carrying her swiftly to the command center. The artificial gravity couldn't quite mask her athletic grace, a testament to her upbringing on Earth's heavy gravity. "Report," she ordered, sliding into her command chair. The holoscreen before her blazed to life, displaying a cascade of urgent data. Lieutenant Rodriguez, his dark eyes reflecting the emergency lights, spoke quickly but clearly. "We're picking up a distress signal from the Centauri Nebula's restricted zone. It's the Luminarch research station." He paused, swallowing hard. "They're caught in a Class 5 plasma storm." Chen's jaw tightened. The Luminarch station was home to over 300 Aetherian scientists, crystalline beings whose delicate forms could shatter under the wrong atmospheric conditions. A plasma storm would cook them alive in their own bodies. "Show me the storm's parameters," she commanded. The holoscreen shifted, displaying a massive swirling vortex of deadly energy. Even at this distance, their sensors struggled to maintain a clear reading through the electromagnetic interference. "The Aetherian High Council has already declared it a lost cause," Rodriguez continued, his voice bitter. "Their ships can't handle those conditions. The plasma would tear through their shields in seconds." Chen leaned forward, studying the readouts carefully. "What about the Aegis-class ships?" The command center fell silent. The Aegis-class rescue vessels were humanity's newest achievement in space travel, ships specifically designed to operate in conditions that would destroy most vessels. Their revolutionary plasma diffusion shields and reinforced hulls were built to withstand exactly this type of catastrophe. "They're untested in real combat conditions," her chief engineer, Dr. Potul, reminded her from his station. "The simulations look promising." But he let the words hang in the air. Chen straightened in her chair. "Those simulations were based on conditions twice as severe as what we're seeing here." She tapped her console, bringing up the crew roster. "How quickly can we have the HSS Prometheus ready for launch?" 3 hours, Paddle replied without hesitation. "We'll need to reinforce the backup generators and double-check the shield harmonics." Chen nodded, her decision already made. "Make it 2. Contact Earth Command and request emergency deployment authorization. Tell them." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Tell them humanity has a chance to prove we're more than just the galaxy's scary Deathworlders." As her crew burst into action around her, Chen pulled up the original distress signal. The Aetherians' crystalline voices, translated through the computer, carried both fear and dignity. "To any ships within range. We are 342 souls aboard the Luminarch station. Our shields are failing. The storm. We cannot survive much longer. Please, help us." Chen closed her eyes for a moment, remembering the first time she'd met an Aetherian diplomat. They'd been terrified of her, of all humans, creatures who could survive conditions that would destroy most sentient species. "Deathworlders," they called us. But maybe, she thought, opening her eyes to watch her crew prepare for the rescue mission, that's exactly why we're needed. The next 2 hours were a blur of activity. The HSS Prometheus, pride of humanity's rescue fleet, came alive under the skilled hands of its crew. Its massive form, nearly twice the size of standard rescue vessels, gleamed under the station's lights as final checks were completed. As Chen strode through the ship's corridors toward the bridge, she could feel the subtle vibration of the engines through the deck plates. The crew she passed all wore the same expression of determined focus. They knew the stakes. They understood that this wasn't just about saving lives. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity's strength could be used for more than just survival. The bridge of the Prometheus was a testament to human engineering. Hardened displays and reinforced control stations surrounded a central command chair designed to withstand extreme G-forces. Chen settled into it, feeling the familiar embrace of the safety harness. "All stations, report readiness," she ordered, her voice carrying the weight of command. One by one, Her crew confirmed their stations: engineering, navigation, medical, shields, each voice steady, each system ready. "Send a message to the Luminarch station," Chen commanded. "Tell them help is coming. Tell them." She allowed herself a small smile. "Tell them the Deathworlders are on their way." The Prometheus's engines roared to life, pushing against the fabric of space itself. Ahead of them, the plasma storm raged, a maelstrom of deadly energy that would destroy any normal ship. But the Prometheus was not a normal ship, and its crew were not normal spacefarers. They were humans, Deathworlders, and they were about to show the galaxy exactly what that meant. The plasma storm loomed before the Prometheus like a wall of living fire. From the bridge, Commander Chen watched as ribbons of energy twisted and writhed, creating patterns that would have been beautiful if they weren't so deadly. The ship's sensors were already registering temperature spikes that would melt standard hull plating. "Shield harmonics at maximum," Lieutenant Park announced from the defense station, her fingers dancing across the controls. "Plasma diffusion systems online and responding." Chen nodded, her eyes never leaving the main viewport. "Take us in, helm. Quarter speed until we verify shield effectiveness." The Prometheus moved forward with deliberate purpose, its massive form approaching the outer edges of the storm. The first tendrils of plasma energy reached out like hungry fingers, testing the ship's defenses. The shield bubble became visible, a shimmering blue barrier that split the deadly energy around them. "Shield load at 30%, Park reported, within expected parameters. Dr. Patel's voice came over the comm from engineering. "The new diffusion systems are working better than simulations predicted. We're successfully converting most of the plasma energy into additional power for the shields." A sudden surge of energy slammed into the ship's starboard side. The deck plates vibrated, but the shields held steady. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Human engineering at its finest. "Distance to Luminarch station?" she asked. Rodriguez consulted his displays. "Approximately 40,000 kilometers through the worst of the storm. At current speed, that's about 2 hours of travel time." "Ma'am," Park interrupted, her voice tense, "I'm detecting something strange in the plasma patterns ahead. The energy isn't flowing naturally." Chen leaned forward in her chair. "Explain." "It's like something's creating artificial currents in the plasma. The station's presence might be affecting the storm's behavior." Before Chen could respond, a massive plasma vortex formed directly in their path. The swirling energy created a tunnel of pure destruction that would tear apart any conventional vessel. "Helm full stop," Chen ordered. "Dr. Patel, I need options." The engineer's response was immediate. "The vortex is actually an opportunity, Commander. If we can synchronize our shield frequency with the plasma rotation, we might be able to ride the current. It could cut our travel time in half. And if our timing is off, then we'll be torn apart at the atomic level." Chen considered for a moment. Time was running out for the Aetherian scientists, but risking her ship and crew on an untested theory. She thought of the crystalline beings waiting for rescue, their bodies literally cracking under the strain of the storm. "Dr. Patel, you have 10 minutes to calculate the exact shield frequencies we need. Lieutenant Park, begin shield modifications as soon as you receive the numbers. Everyone else, secure for extreme maneuvers." The next 10 minutes were filled with intense activity as the crew prepared for what might be either a brilliant solution or their last mistake. Chen used the time to record a brief message to Earth Command, explaining their situation and decision. If something went wrong, at least their attempt would be documented. "Calculations complete," Patel announced. "Sending shield frequencies to tactical now." "Frequencies received and implemented," Park confirmed. "Shield harmonics adjusting. Synchronized with plasma rotation in 3, 2, 1, mark." Chen gripped her chair's armrests. "Take us in, helm. Full power to forward shields." The Prometheus surged forward into the vortex. For a moment, the entire ship shuddered as if it would shake itself apart. Warning alerts blared across multiple stations. Then suddenly, they were through the initial barrier and riding the plasma current like a surfer catching a wave. "It's working," Rodriguez exclaimed. "We're being carried along the plasma flow. Speed increasing too. This can't be right. We're moving at nearly twice our normal maximum velocity." Chen watched as the swirling energy carried them deeper into the storm. The Prometheus's hull sang with the strain, but held firm. Human technology, built to withstand the harshest conditions, was proving its worth. "New contact." Park's voice cut through the moment of triumph. "Multiple plasma anomalies forming around us. The storm, it's almost like it's reacting to our presence." The view through the forward screens confirmed her words. The plasma was coalescing into distinct shapes, like massive tentacles of energy reaching for the ship. They had survived the vortex only to find themselves in what appeared to be the storm's very heart, where the laws of physics seemed to break down. "All hands." Chen's voice rang through the ship's comm system. "Prepare for emergency maneuvers. We just proved we can ride the storm. Now let's show it why humans never learn to fear the impossible." The Luminarch station emerged from the plasma storm like a ghost ship, its crystalline architecture refracting the chaotic energies around it. Through the Prometheus's forward viewport, Commander Chen could see fracture lines spreading across the station's outer sections. The damage was even worse than they'd feared. "Life signs," Chen demanded, already unstrapping from her command chair. Rodriguez's fingers flew across his console. 338 confirmed signatures, all concentrated in the central hub. "They've abandoned the outer rings completely." 4 lost already. Chen pushed the thought aside. There would be time for grief later. Open a channel to their command center. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a sight few humans had ever witnessed. First Director Lyra's crystalline form sparkled even through the damaged transmission, her faceted body structure catching and splitting light in complex patterns. But Chen could see the stress fractures forming along the director's edges, clear signs that the environmental systems were failing. This is impossible." Lyra's translated voice carried both hope and disbelief. "No ship could survive the storm. You can't be real." "First Director Lyra, I'm Commander Sarah Chen of the HS Prometheus. We're here to help." Chen kept her voice steady, professional. "We need to begin evacuation immediately. How many of your people can move under their own power?" "You're human." It wasn't a question. Lyra's crystalline form shifted colors, indicating strong emotion. The Council said no rescue was possible, that the storm would destroy any ship that tried. "The Council wasn't accounting for human engineering," Chen replied, "or human stubbornness. Director, we don't have much time. Your station's structural integrity is failing." Lyra seemed to gather herself. "Yes, of course. We have 200 able to move independently. The others, the temperature fluctuations have caused partial crystallization in their locomotion structures. We'll send in our medical teams with portable stasis fields," Chen assured her. "But first we need to establish a secure dock." "Dr. Patel, what's our best option?" The engineer's voice came through clear and confident. "The station's primary dock is compromised, but I'm detecting a maintenance airlock on the ventral side that's still structurally sound. We can extend our shield bubble to cover a direct transfer corridor." "Make it happen," Chen ordered. She turned back to the screen. "Director Lyra, we'll need your people to gather near the ventral maintenance access. Can you guide them there safely?" "Yes, but..." Lyra hesitated. "Commander, you should know. Many of my people have never seen a human before. They've only heard stories. They might be afraid of us," Chen finished. "I understand. That's why I'm coming over personally with the first medical team. Sometimes the best way to overcome fear is to face it directly." The next 30 minutes were organized chaos as the Prometheus's crew executed their rescue plan. The ship's enhanced shields strained to maintain a stable corridor between the vessels while emergency teams prepared for transfer. Chen stood in the airlock with the first response team, checking the seals on her environmental suit one final time. "Remember," she addressed her team, "the Aetherians are incredibly fragile by our standards. Minimal physical contact, and let them set the pace for any interactions. We're here to help, not terrify them further." The airlock cycled, and they pushed off into the transfer corridor. Through her helmet, Chen could see the plasma storm raging against the shield bubble, held at bay by human technology and determination. Ahead, the maintenance airlock of the Luminarch station waited, its crystalline structure already showing signs of stress fatigue. They found First Director Lyra waiting with a small group of Aetherians. Up close, the damage was even more apparent. Stress fractures ran through many of their crystalline forms, and some moved with obvious difficulty. But what struck Chen most was their reaction to the human rescue team. The Aetherians drew back instinctively, their forms shifting to defensive configurations. Chen stepped forward slowly, her movements deliberately gentle despite the bulky environmental suit. She activated her external speakers. "First Director, we have portable stasis units ready for those who need immediate medical attention. With your permission, we'll begin with the most critically damaged." Lyra moved forward, her crystalline form catching the emergency lights in a cascade of colors. You really came to help us, even knowing the danger, even knowing what we think of your kind." "That's what humans do," Chen replied simply. "We see someone in trouble, we help. Now, let's get your people to safety." Something changed in that moment. The fear in the Aetherian group seemed to dissolve, replaced by cautious hope. As the human medical teams moved forward with their equipment, the crystalline beings began to work alongside them, helping to identify those in most urgent need of assistance. "Commander," Rodriguez's voice came through Chen's comm. "The storm's intensity is increasing. We're reading massive energy spikes heading our way. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it fast." Chen looked at the hundreds of Aetherians still waiting to be evacuated, then at the approaching wall of plasma energy that threatened to destroy both ships. They were out of time, and they needed a solution that neither humans nor Aetherians could achieve alone. She turned to Lyra. "Director, I have an idea. But it's going to require your people to trust us completely, and it's going to require us to combine our technologies in a way that's never been attempted before." The massive plasma wave approached like a wall of liquid fire, dwarfing both the Prometheus and the Luminarch station. Through the viewport of the station's central control room, Commander Chen watched as energy readings climbed beyond anything their sensors were designed to measure. "The transfer corridor won't hold against that," Dr. Patel's voice crackled through the comm. "Even with full power to shields, we're looking at complete failure in less than 10 minutes. Chen turned to First Director Lyra, whose crystalline form now showed visible signs of stress. "Director, your station's crystalline architecture. It's designed to channel and redistribute energy, isn't it?" "Yes," Lyra responded, her translated voice carrying a hint of surprise. "The entire structure acts as a massive energy conduit. But the plasma levels are too high. It would shatter us. Not if we combine it with our shield technology." Chen's eyes were bright with intensity. "Your station can channel energy. Our shields can diffuse it. Together." Understanding flickered through Lyra's crystalline structure, creating a cascade of colors. "You want to use the station itself as a massive shield generator." "Better." Chen smiled. "I want to turn it into a plasma diffusion array. Dr. Patel, if we route our shield generators through the station's crystalline matrix, could we create a large enough field to protect both ships?" There was a moment of silence as the engineer ran calculations. Theoretically, yes, but the power requirements would be enormous, and the station's systems would need to perfectly synchronize with ours. One miscalculation, and the feedback would destroy both vessels. "It would require direct neural interface with our systems," Lyra added. "One of my people would need to physically connect with your shield generators. The pain, it would be considerable." "I will do it." The new voice came from a younger Aetherian who stepped forward, their form still mostly free of stress fractures. I am Spark of the engineering cast. I have studied human technology, though most called it a waste of time. Chen looked at the volunteer, recognizing the same determination she often saw in her own young officers. You understand the risks. This has never been attempted before. Understanding the unknown is why we are scientists, Spark replied. And trust must begin somewhere. Time seemed to compress as they put their desperate plan into action. The Prometheus's engineering team worked frantically to modify their shield generators, while Etherian technicians prepared their station's crystal matrix. Spark was connected to both systems, their crystalline form trembling slightly as they processed the massive data flows. Wave impact in 2 minutes, Rodriguez reported from the Prometheus. Shields failing on multiple sections. All non-essential power rerouted to the main shield generator, Patil added. We're ready on our end. Chen looked at Spark, who was now glowing with internal energy. Are you ready? Integration is uncomfortable. Spark managed through the translation system. But holding. Crystal matrix aligned with shield harmonics. Ready to initiate on your command. Chen took a deep breath. Begin power transfer. Take it slow. We need perfect synchronization. The effect was immediate and stunning. The station's crystalline walls began to pulse with blue-white energy as the Prometheus's shield technology merged with the Etherian energy distribution network. Sparks' form blazed like a star as they channeled the combined power through their consciousness. Energy synchronization at 60%, 75%, 90%. Patil's voice was tense with concentration. Full integration achieved. The plasma wave struck with the force of a solar flare. The combined shield flared into visibility, a massive dome of crystalline energy patterns that bent and redirected the deadly plasma around both vessels. Inside the station, every crystalline surface sang with power. Shield holding. Rodriguez called out. The diffusion pattern it's beautiful. The plasma is being split and channeled through the crystal matrix, bleeding off its destructive potential. But Chen could see the strain it was taking. Spark's form was vibrating dangerously, stress lines appearing across their surface. The young Etherian was pushing themselves to the absolute limit to maintain the connection between the two technologies. Power fluctuation in the main crystal matrix, Patil warned. We're losing coherence in sections 5 through 8. Reroute through the auxiliary crystals, Lyra ordered, her own form glowing as she connected to her station's systems. All Etherians, lend your strength to the matrix. Channel your energy through Spark. What happened next would be talked about in both human and Etherian space for generations to come. The crystalline beings throughout the station began to glow, creating a network of living light that pulsed in harmony with the shield technology. They were no longer separate entities but parts of a greater whole, each contributing their energy to the survival of all. Matrix stabilizing, Patil reported, awe in his voice. Power levels evening out. The shield. It's not just holding, it's getting stronger. Through it all, Chen watched as human technology and Etherian biology worked in perfect synchronization, turning what should have been certain death into something miraculous. The plasma wave that should have destroyed them was being transformed into pure energy, feeding back into their combined shields and making them stronger. Wave intensity dropping. Rodriguez announced after what seemed like hours. We're through the worst of it. Shield integrity at 95% and holding. As the immediate danger passed, Chen looked at Spark, who was slowly returning to their normal luminescence. The young Etherian's form showed new stress patterns, but their voice, when it came through the translator, carried only pride. It seems, Spark said quietly, that there is much our peoples could learn from each other. Chen smiled, looking around at the humans and Etherians who had worked together to achieve the impossible. I believe that's something we can all agree on. 1 month after the Luminarch rescue, Commander Sarah Chen stood before the Galactic Council chambers, her dress uniform pristine as she faced the assembled representatives of 100 spacefaring species. The massive chamber, with its soaring crystalline arches, seemed designed to make individuals feel small. But Chen stood tall, conscious of the significance of this moment. The rescue of the Luminarch station, the council speaker's holographic form announced, has forced us to reevaluate many long-held assumptions about human involvement in galactic affairs. Chen's gaze drifted to the Aetherian delegation, where First Director Lyra and Engineer Spark sat among their peers. The stress fractures from their ordeal had healed, leaving behind patterns that their people now viewed as marks of honor. What was initially seen as a limitation, humanity's evolution on a high-gravity, high-danger world, proved to be the very thing that enabled this unprecedented rescue. The speaker continued, "Commander Chen, your actions, and those of your crew, have demonstrated that there is more to being a Deathworlder than we previously understood." Chen stepped forward to address the council. "With respect, Speaker, we never viewed our physical capabilities as a limitation. Humanity evolved to face challenges, to adapt, to protect not just ourselves but others. The Prometheus and her crew didn't succeed just because of our technology or our physical resilience. We succeeded because we refused to accept that 338 lives were beyond saving." She gestured to the data display hovering above the chamber. "The shield integration technology we developed with the Aetherians is just the beginning. Already, our scientists are working together on new applications. Colonies that were considered too dangerous to establish might now be possible. Rescue operations that were thought impossible could become routine." Spark rose from their seat, their crystalline form catching the chamber's light. "If I may speak." At the speaker's acknowledgement, they continued, "Before the rescue, I studied human technology despite the ridicule of my peers. I was fascinated by a species that turned their harsh evolution into a force for creation rather than destruction. During the crisis, I experienced firsthand the truth about humans. They are not dangerous because they are strong. They are remarkable because of how they choose to use that strength." Murmurs ran through the chamber as other representatives began to speak up. A Ventusian windrider described how human deep-sea technology had helped them explore gas-giant atmospheres. A Helian physicist explained how human radiation shielding had revolutionized their solar research. The council speaker raised their appendages for silence. "It seems we have been presented with clear evidence that our previous policies regarding human involvement in galactic affairs require significant revision. Commander Chen, the council has a proposal for you." Chen straightened, curious. "I'm listening, Speaker." "We wish to establish a new division within the Galactic Emergency Response Force, one specifically staffed by human crews and ships, working in conjunction with other species' technical experts. Your experience with the Luminarch rescue has shown us that there are situations where human capabilities are not just useful, but essential. The Prometheus and her crew would be honored to help establish such a division," Chen replied. "On one condition." The speaker tilted their head. "And that would be?" "That we recognize this as a true partnership. Humanity's physical capabilities and technology are tools, nothing more. It's the combination of different species' strengths that made the Luminarch rescue possible. We don't want to be seen as the galaxy's emergency solution. We want to be seen as part of the galactic community." "A wise condition," the speaker agreed. "One that shows precisely why this initiative is so important. Let it be recorded that on this day, the term Deathworlder is officially retired from council documentation. Henceforth, Earth and its people will be recognized as full partners in galactic civilization." Later, as Chen stood in one of the council station's observation lounges watching ships come and go through the nearby Wormgate, she heard crystalline chimes that announced Aetherian movement. Spark approached, their form glowing softly in the starlight. "I've been assigned as the primary liaison to the new Emergency Response Division," they announced. "It seems my wasteful interest in human technology has become a valuable qualification." Chen smiled, looking forward to working together, though hopefully with less plasma storms this time. Indeed, Spark's form shifted through thoughtful colors. "You know, There's an old Aetherian saying, "The strongest crystal is formed under the greatest pressure." Perhaps the same is true of relationships between species. "We have a similar saying on Earth," Chen replied. "Diamonds are made under pressure." Maybe our peoples aren't so different after all. Together, human and Aetherian watched the stars, no longer separated by fear or prejudice, but united by the understanding that true strength lies not in the capabilities we possess, but in how we choose to use them. In the decades that followed, the sight of human rescue ships working alongside alien vessels would become common throughout the galaxy. The term Deathworlder evolved from a fearful whisper to a mark of respect, and the story of the Luminart rescue was taught in schools across 1,000 worlds, not just as a tale of survival, but as the moment when the galaxy learned that the greatest power any species can possess is the will to help others.